but he doesn't go after him right away. He waits for the right time. He's so patient.
Right.
Like when you watch the early rounds of his fights, he's like at a world champions that are competing today at the highest level, he probably has the lowest punch count in the early rounds.
Yeah.
Because he just wait, but he also knows he's got that nuclear option that if he can crack you, most likely he's going to take you out. He's got massive confidence in that.
Right back on.
A little bit of weight. I think Gervonta will beat him. Honestly, I think Gervonta will hurt him. I think he'll just use IQ. He'll tire him out a little bit. And
Joe Rogan was stunned to learn that GervontaDavis reportedly knocked out a heavyweight during sparring. He praised Tank's explosive power and the fearless way he delivers punches with precision and confidence. Rogan said Davis brings a unique kind of danger to every fight because he has the ability to end things instantly. That unpredictability, he explained, is what makes Tank both fascinating to watch and terrifying for anyone who dares to face him.
You don't know whether someone's ever going to be able to figure that out or whether or not he's just going to keep cracking people.
Yeah.
You know, so it's part of the fun of watching it. I've talked to a lot of like real boxing purists. It's like, you can't rely on that style.
Right.
He's got to be busier. When he gets to the best guys, it's not going to work out. Like, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Inside the gym, those who've seen GervontaDavis train describe a version of him even more dangerous than the one fans watch on fight night. Heavyweights step in thinking their size and strength will test him, but they quickly realize they're outmatched by his speed and explosive power. Witnesses say even the biggest fighters struggle to handle the sudden force Davis generates from his compact frame, proving just how lethal his punch truly is. A former sparring partner of Jake Paul has offered a brutally honest take, saying GervontaDavis hits far too hard for Jake to handle and that he's never faced power like this before. He explained that while Jake's confidence comes from knocking out ex-MMA fighters and older boxers, that mindset won't save him against someone like Davis. When Tank lands, he doesn't just score points, he inflicts real damage. The ex-partner believes Jake will quickly realize he's stepped into a level of competition beyond anything he's experienced. While many respect Jake's courage to take big risks, he warned that every risk has a limit, and Tank Davis is exactly where that limit lies.
man, like every single time, you know, people said that Jake would get finished or he would lose a fight, he obviously proved everybody wrong. But I genuinely believe this time, I think that, you know, with Gervonta's boxing IQ and him having Jake come down a little bit of weight, I think Gervonta will beat him, honestly. I think Gervonta will hurt him. I think he'll just use IQ. He'll tire him out a little bit. And, you know, I think he'll land. You know, Gervonta knows how to touch his opponents. But it's interesting because when Floyd fought Logan, the size really made a big, you know, impact. And you saw Floyd struggle, you know, against a big, you know, Ohio corn-fed, you know, wrestling strong dude. And, you know, I've sparred Jake and Logan before, and, you know, they train hard.
You're picking Tank by knockout?
Look, I sparred them years ago. They're much better than when I sparred them. They're athletes, you know, they train really hard. I think they work.
Joe Rogan admits that Jake Paul has done something remarkable. He's brought a younger generation back to boxing and created hype that many traditional promoters couldn't. But he questions whether Jake is truly ready to face a fighter in his prime. Rogan points out that Jake's biggest wins have come against opponents who were either retired, coming from other combat sports, or past their best years. GervontaDavis is a completely different challenge. Elite speed, precise timing, and knockout power honed through years at the top of professional boxing. Rogan says that inside the ring, business success means nothing. No fans, cameras, or followers can absorb punches for Jake. He respects Jake's courage, but believes this fight will reveal whether he's a true boxer or just a skilled entertainer stepping into deep waters.
What if Jake Paul knocks one of them out? Like, what if you get a guy that like hasn't been tested and maybe has some promise and maybe gets wrapped up in the hype and maybe gets a little nervous and this is his first chance at a big show, and Jake Paul can crack.
Yeah.
100%. That knockout of Tyron Woodley is legit as fuck. He can crack.
But Eddie's point in that interview, and I think the point that just about every boxing aficionado would say, is that Tyron.
Showbiz the Adult offers a sharp look into Tank's mindset, explaining that even if this fight carries an exhibition label, the risk of embarrassment is completely real. A fighter like GervontaDavis has spent his entire career building a legacy of dominance and professionalism, so getting caught or knocked out by someone who started on YouTube would be a public disaster. Showbiz notes that Tank's recent draw with Lamont Roach already gave critics something to talk about, which makes him even more determined to silence any doubts. That's why he's training with full intensity, treating this as a fight for respect, not entertainment. In Tank's mind, his legacy, pride, and identity as a true boxer are all on the line, and that pressure is exactly what fuels his dangerous focus heading into this matchup.
Fake fight, but it has real consequences. Let him get knocked out by Jake. Let him get embarrassed by Jake. He can't come back. He'll be made a mockery of. He done took a knee, grease in the eye, had a draw with Roach, which everybody thinks Roach was robbed, and then made a mockery of by Jake Paul, a YouTuber. Which is why Gervonta Tank Davis is on Demon. See, me being back on my fitness journey, I know how hard that is, especially at his size with how heavy that medicine ball is. Gervonta Tank Davis is going to go hard, pause, on that Jake Paul fight. He has to. While everybody is trying to dismiss that shit, there's a knockout bonus and everything. You got Lamont Roach calling him all these names. Tank Davis shut off his social media. He can't take y'all negativity, making him worse before the fight. He can't allow y'all to be in his head, which that's what y'all want to do. The end of Tank. And I don't. I think boxing is better with Tank involved. I always say that. If there is boxing, boxing is even better when there's more talent.
Bruce Carrington argues that crossover fights like Jake Paul versus GervontaDavis are injecting new life into boxing. He believes that while traditional matchups often struggle to grab worldwide attention, these celebrity-driven clashes pull in casual fans, younger audiences, and massive online communities that keep the sport buzzing. According to Carrington, boxing today needs more than just titles and rankings. It needs moments that ignite conversation and capture imagination, whether fans view them as legitimate or not. He says these events push boxing back into the mainstream spotlight and help sustain the excitement that benefits the entire sport.
Granted, it's entertainment, right? But this is, is sports entertainment. This is what's gonna put butts in the seat, believe it or not. This is what's gonna, bring a lot of money to the sport. Especially, we have people trying to say boxing is dead, boxing is dying, but we have a whole demographic of people that don't even watch boxing, interested in boxing. So I like to look at it that way. Like we're making these fantasy dream matchups come to life with Floyd and Tyson, And to be honest, I'm a little biased because Floyd, he is my favorite fighter of all time, and Tyson, he is a guy that basically made me fall in love with boxing, and he's like the icon, the myth, the legend for me. So it was like them two fighting. I was like, yo, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? So and then on top of that, it's an exhibition, bro. It's not something to be taken serious. It's something that is for the people to just enjoy and watch. It's an exhibition. It's not like they making it a sanctioned fight. Now, Jake and Tank, are they making that a sanctioned fight? I think they are.
They're trying to. It's a lot of moving parts right now with that.
Yeah, so I think that's where certain things become an issue, because now you're putting it into a serious space. You know what I'm saying? Which it shouldn't be. It's honestly, if it's sanctioned, how the heck they gonna, I don't know, bro. I don't know how the heck they gonna like really pull that off, but I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's kind of certain things, you got to question, but at the end of the day, it is putting more eyes on the game. It's keeping the sport alive. And yeah, like I feel like Jake, his vision, his views, it's kind of bringing like eye openings. It's kind of opening people's eyes. It's fun.
Concerns have surfaced about GervontaDavis's mental and emotional state heading into the Jake Paul fight. Ongoing legal issues, courtroom distractions, and waves of public criticism have added extra pressure to his preparation. Davis has voiced frustration over wanting legacy-defining matchups, such as a showdown with Vasyl Lomachenko, rather than headline-grabbing spectacles. When he faced Lamont Roach, he admitted feeling mentally off, which some analysts see as a warning sign that his focus could again be tested. Still, others believe this adversity may fuel him instead of breaking him. Tank remains determined to prove that, despite personal turmoil and outside noise, he's still one of the most dangerous fighters alive. The real question now is whether he'll convert that stress into sharp, destructive energy, or let it weigh him down when the lights come on.
Lets distractions chip away at his edge. Example, when in the lead-in to the GervontaDavis-Lamont Roach fight, Gervonta was not actually even interested in fighting Lamont Roach. He was trying to fight Vasyl Lomachenko. And Vasyl Lomachenko was the guy that was going to really kind of propel him. It was the big fight that he wanted to get. But unfortunately for him, Vasyl Lomachenko decided to retire instead of fighting him. So all of the time that it went into negotiating that fight with Vasyl Lomachenko, where he really thought that he was going to get, that marquee fight with a fighter, in that division, it goes away, right? So what does he do? He then has to try to make a fight with somebody else. And that somebody else was Lamont Roach, somebody that he knew, somebody that was from the same area that he is, and somebody pretty much he was doing that the PBC was doing a solid for, and saying, okay, man, we really don't have an opponent, but this guy has a 130-pound title. He just beat Hector Garcia, the same guy that we beat, so boom, let's make the fight. However, that fight was originally supposed to be in Houston, and it had all kind of problems with the venue, moving the venue from here to there. It was supposed to be on one date, then it gets moved to the next date, right? And so basically it gets delayed and delayed and delayed. He also has issues with a judge over a hit and run case, and he's not allowed to leave Florida. She cites him and drags him into court because he went to DC, or he went somewhere without permission. So now he has another threat over his head about going to jail. Just a lot of stuff on the top of that young man's head in the lead into that.
Recent footage of Shakur Stevenson has drawn sharp criticism after he was seen downplaying GervontaDavis's skills and career choices, only to immediately agree to a paid sparring role with Jake Paul. Analysts have labeled the move hypocritical, noting that while Stevenson publicly questions Tank's technical ability, he's still choosing to profit from the very spectacle built around Davis's name. His decision to spar with Jake, despite previously mocking the matchup, has left fans questioning his consistency and motives. Critics argue that this shift exposes how easily financial incentives and publicity can reshape opinions in modern boxing. What was once seen as a principled stance against crossover fights now looks more like a calculated business move, leaving some fans disappointed in Stevenson's sudden change of tune.
To an undercard fighter, and then now, worse than an undercard fighter, you're being brought in for sparring, and you're like, ooh, I get to pick Jake Paul's brain, and you're like happy about being a sparring partner. For me, that wouldn't be kosher. If I was Shakur and I am who I say I am, I would be trying to build my brand as big as possible, right? Like, if you want to be a big actor, you're going to get to a point where you got to start starring in the movies. You can't just keep doing cameos and showing up for 5 seconds in a movie. You'll never get to Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Will Smith, Denzel Washington. You'll never, if you're not a leading man, you'll never get to where they've been, Leonardo DiCaprio. they don't trust you with the whole movie, right? So for me, if my goal as an actor was to be a leading man and to be the top build, you got to start working towards that. And if you keep doing favors and other people's projects where you do these little bit roles and extra, you're an extra in somebody else's movie, I feel like that's a conflict of interest because it's not really going to get you towards your end goal. So that's what I'm looking at, Shakur. The branding stinks. You're literally Jake Paul's sparring partner right now, just because you don't like Tank. So, like I said in the last video, the branding sucks.
Not Tank. It's gonna actually bump up Tank. Yeah, these actions. Hey, people gonna be supporting Tank on these type of actions. You guys gotta look at the big picture, man. Years ago, man, I had a chance to spar. You know what I'm saying?
Discussions across boxing media have intensified over the surprising partnership between Jake Paul and Shakur Stevenson. Many find it odd given Stevenson's long history of criticizing Jake's career choices and the level of his opponents. Analysts are drawing parallels to when Jaron Ennis assisted Canelo Alvarez in preparation for Terence Crawford, suggesting that some fighters may set aside personal opinions when the financial reward or publicity is appealing enough. To many observers, this collaboration looks driven by business rather than loyalty or sporting integrity. It's also seen as a strategic move by Jake, who knows that bringing a recognized world-class boxer into his camp boosts his credibility. Stevenson, meanwhile, benefits from both exposure and compensation, but fans are left debating whether his involvement reflects genuine sporting interest or pure opportunism. The situation underscores how, in modern boxing, the line between competitive pride and financial maneuvering grows increasingly blurred.
Stevenson reached out to Jake Paul in support of him preparing for GervontaDavis. Help me understand, what is the difference between Boots Ennis reaching out to Canelo Alvarez in support of his preparation for Terence Crawford versus Shakur Stevenson reaching out to Jake Paul in preparation for his fight with GervontaDavis? Tell me, what is the difference? I'll tell you what the difference is. The Ennis family actually had a relationship with Canelo Alvarez. Shakur Stevenson has no relationship with Jake Paul. None. We heard, oh, Boots is a sparring partner. How much you got paid for that? So now, isn't that also applicable to Shakur Stevenson? Is he not also a sellout? I don't want to hear anything about this fight. It's against a YouTuber, it doesn't matter. No, Shakur Stevenson is an elite level fighter that is going to be a sparring partner to a YouTuber, and he reached.
Paulie Malignaggi has shared key insight into the choice of location for the upcoming fight, pointing out that Florida perfectly fits the promotional vision behind it. The state's high-energy entertainment scene, celebrity presence, and strong media landscape make it an ideal backdrop to maximize coverage and hype. According to Malignaggi, if Gervonta Tank Davis delivers a spectacular win against a figure with Jake Paul's massive online reach, it could catapult his fame far beyond the boxing community. A knockout victory in front of such a diverse and global audience would transform Tank from a hardcore fan favorite into a mainstream American name. For him, this event isn't just another bout. It's a business leap forward, opening doors to new endorsements, larger venues, and worldwide recognition.
But I'll keep them to myself. But there's obviously a reason why the networks wanted to make GervontaDavis a star.
But let's look at it. And Robert, I want to ask you this. When you looked at the numbers for Canelo, his fight against Crawford, 41 million viewers. That's what they got. It was the most viewed championship fight of this century. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson got 108 million. It got more than double, significantly more than double. Is it the idea of the streaming services, Netflix, where they're following the numbers, Robert, and that's where the numbers are?
It's what we're coming to, the real fights where they deserve to be seen throughout the world. It's great. They have good numbers, but when you see guys, that are YouTubers, guys that are 60-year-old retired and coming back, and getting 2 times more than what a real fight, it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of embarrassing, kind of sad that we're getting there, that we're in that situation. But I also can't blame them. You know, they're all making a lot of money. That's why Tank is doing it. I think it's ridiculous. It's a joke. But I can't go against that either. You know, he's making a lot of money. Jake Paul is doing his thing. Jake Paul is you know, he makes these fights happen and gets the views. So people are tuning in. You know that.
Andy Ross has taken a bold position by favoring Jake Paul as the potential winner, citing the significant size and reach difference between the two. He argues that Jake's natural weight advantage and longer reach could make it harder for Gervonta "Tank" Davis to close the distance and fight at his preferred range. Ross also highlights Jake's unconventional fighting style. Since he isn't molded by traditional boxing systems, his movements can be unpredictable, giving him moments that might catch Tank off guard. While Ross fully acknowledges Tank's elite skill and power, he warns that physical advantages paired with growing confidence can shift momentum fast. His prediction may not be popular, but he insists that the danger Tank faces is real, because in boxing, all it takes is one punch, and Jake has the kind of power that can make that moment count.
GervontaDavis,
Crazy.
your thoughts on this?
I have locks with Snaggy right there. I think Jake Paul wins that fight. You're way look. Obviously, GervontaDavis has way more experience. He's a hell of a fighter. He's done so much more for boxing and you know, than a lot of people. But to say that, you know, that's not, everyone's gonna want to watch that fight. I think it's a genius idea. I think Jake Paul sets the craziest expectations, and I think he sets the bar so high now in the boxing world. Jake Paul revived boxing. You know, people can say what they want to say about it, but Jake Paul.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned for more updates, analysis, and behind-the-scenes coverage from the world of boxing.